There's a difference between being supported and being truly seen. In our world, we built systems that are meant to help, but all too often, those systems move faster than the people inside them. And when that happens, dignity gets lost, voices get quieter, and potential goes unnoticed. Today's conversation is about slowing down enough to see people clearly. You are seen as an organization rooted in dignity, belonging, and choice, and the belief that when someone is truly seen, everything changes. Joining me today is one of the leaders behind that work, Director Jared Thomas, to talk about why this mission exists, how it shows up in the world of real lives, and what it looks like to build systems that serve people and not the other way around. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining me so much today. My guest today is none other than Jared Thomas, the director of You Are Seen, and we're going to get into the details of who You Are Seen is and what they're about in just a moment. But Jared, I want to welcome you. Thank you for joining me so much today.
Thanks for having me.
You got it. Hey, right off the bat, what I want to get into, I'm going to kind of get into the meat and potatoes of everything in just a second, but I want to kind of set this up, if you would, with just a question about before you are seen was an organization. It had to have been a conviction of some sort, I have to imagine. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but talk to me about what was happening in your life that made you feel like this work was necessary, and maybe not even optional.
I think it honestly started when I have a cousin who's a year older than me, and he was like severely premature. And so I just remember from a young age, kind of trying to bring him along, include him in everything, looking out for him, and as the years progressed, just kind of seeing like what actually goes into someone with a disability, like all the different things that they have to learn in different ways, and and how family can support them. And throughout the years, starting in middle school, my best friend's mom was the sped teacher, and so I was an aide from sixth grade on all the way through high school. And so the passion kind of started there, and it just kind of worked its way through. My wife is actually in the same field as me. She's a board certified behavior analyst and has her doctorate in SPED and behavior. And so we kind of went back and forth in our schooling. While I worked, she was finishing her school, and then I would go and do my master's. I got my master's in special education, and then I'd go to work, and then she went and got her master's and doctorate. So it's kind of been this ongoing thing, and just the place it was in my heart, and then kind of having that conviction of I need to go do something for it, because it's at the end of the day, it's not the most glamorous job, and I think people don't understand the stress I think that's involved with it, and the time that goes into it. And once you actually get boots on the ground and you're in there with that population, where I was in high school teaching, there's nothing greater, in my opinion, because each day you can make a difference in someone's life. And it's not just for that one little aspect of the day. It's truly you're making stuff that will kind of transition them into the next part of their big life, where they're going to spend outside of their class. So that's where my job was. It was called work-based learning in the high school. And so what I did was I took kids with disabilities out into the community, and we volunteered at different places throughout the day. And so that was my job, and that's where this passion came from. And so finally it was, I felt like I could help more people if I started this URC.
Yeah, that's phenomenal. Thank you for giving the backstory on that. So obviously all that had to have shaped a bunch, not just in yourself, but values as a whole for what eventually became You Are Seen. How did all that kind of shape and formulate what it is that your values are currently as an organization?
Well, I think, first off, it's you once you're in this population, you look at things through a different lens, and it's not
Mm.
just that compassion and that, I guess, those choice words that everyone wants to use. It's truly, you have this place in your heart for each kid. There's a
Mhm.
certain spot where they can fit in, and it's just like everybody else who doesn't have a disability. And that's kind of where the name You Are Seen came from, is because in our meetings with parents, they'd always tell me how they just want their kids to be seen as, the typical student in school,
Mhm.
be able to go out and get a job after, high school, just, all the things that the typical peers in the school do. And that's kind of where I didn't take no for an answer. So it was every kid in my class that was in there, no matter their, disability, how severe it was, wheelchairs or, some of them had some pretty serious behaviors, and it was just kind of finding their niche and getting them out in the community. And believe it or not, I think when they, when they excel out in the community, and they're, that life that's going to be post grad in high school, I think
Mhm.
kind of, I think they like that more than just, the schoolwork, the reading, writing, math. It's kind of setting up for life, the daily living skills, and it all looks different for each child. I mean, a success for the day could be, simple as brushing your teeth for that day, or, you know
Yeah.
they're putting on deodorant before they go to PE. To
Mhm.
where, another kid, it's getting out, it's filling an application, it's doing all the work to get ready for a interview. And
Mhm.
so it just looks different for everybody. And I think that's the biggest thing about this population is, everybody can do something.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely. It reminds me of this book I just started reading. If I don't know if you ever read it or heard of it. Again, it's by Tim Tebow, former NFL player. It's called Look Again. You ever heard of it?
I've heard it. Yeah.
Yeah,
I've not read it yet.
you should totally check it out. I literally got it last night as a present, and I started reading it last night, and already it just kind of sucked me in because he's talking about the perspective shift of having the lens that views people in the way that they were created, and it's pretty powerful the way that the stage is being set on how to serve others and how he's called to serve other people and what he dubs as MVPs. In the NFL world, it was most valuable player, right? Like that somebody is after. But in this sense, the perspective shift became most vulnerable people and the
Mhm.
people that he's called to serve. So it just reminded me of what you were talking about. Definitely suggest you check it out. This is not a promotional plug. Just saying it's a good book. But yeah, thank you for sharing that piece there.
Yeah.
I want to rewind it just a hair here, if we could, and really ask you, for somebody that's never heard of URC before, they're listening to this, and for the first time they're hearing about it. How would you describe what you do day to day and who you exist to serve?
So we right now we're aimed at the people who've just graduated high school, and then we also have programs that are in high school as well. So there's Job Foundation and School to Work, which is your second and last year school to high school. So we help them kind of prepare for school or for work in the school environment. And then we also serve the people that are out of high school and job creation, job preparation, and then I think most importantly is sustaining that job. Um, keeping in touch with the employers who's taking on our clients, and building that relationship for the longevity. So if there is a problem arises, that we can get through it and keep them still employed. And then we also offer community engagement and inclusion, just getting them out of
Hmm.
their homes, because transportation can be pretty difficult. If you can imagine, not having a
Sure.
license, and maybe waiting for a bus, or around here there's STA, which can come and get you for paratransit. But getting out of the house is just huge, and it's not just being around peers with disabilities. It's getting them out into the community, with people that you and I deal with day to day. Is
Hmm.
getting them there, so it's tailored to what they like and what they want to do and enjoy. Because yeah, as you can imagine, staying in the house all day could get old. And that if you can bring a little light to their day by going out having some fun and hanging out with other people, I think it means a lot to them.
Yeah, absolutely. It makes me think that this is maybe a lot harder than what people can imagine. accomplishing. There's a lot that goes into it, and while sometimes there may be, you know, systems with good intentions and models that are pieced together, they might often fell short because of the complexities of it. In your experience, what would you say where sometimes these systems with good intentions fail, and how you guys are trying to fix the gap, I guess, fill the gap or improve how this works?
Well, I think being having an experience in the high school has shown me, they're taken care of, from 8 in the morning till 2:30. They have somewhere to go. People love them. They're always around them, and some of these adults, they don't have families, that can
Mhm.
provide the care for them. So they're looking to outside help. And I think a lot of people, if they can't find it, they just kind of fall off the map. They have all these resources in school that, obviously there's, but sometimes budgetary issues that come up, with public education. But for the most part, I think when these kids, if you're in a classroom with a special education teacher, it's they're, I think, there for the right reason.
Mhm.
You're not making a ton of money. You're there because you love what you do and the population. So I think getting them the resources and finding out what they can do is the biggest thing after high school, because like I said, they have schedules all built in, everything's structured for them, and then all of a sudden it hits and they get their diploma, and that they're not in school anymore. They got to find stuff to fill their day. They got to find a job. They got to find transportation, and a lot of them need help with that. And it can look a bunch of different ways for a bunch of different people, and that's what we're here for, is to see what they want. And it's person centered, driven for them. It's all built around their preferences and trying to find what they
Mm.
want to do for a job, and where they want to live, and who they want to hang out with, what their hobbies are. So that's
Yeah,
what we're here to help them with.
yeah, that's awesome. I don't want to get too philosophical, but I think this is kind of important to point out, and you're kind of answering this next thought that I have here, and that's really talking about the distinction between being supported and being truly seen. I think
Yeah.
there's a difference between the two, and you guys are tapping into that. What would you say is the difference between the two?
I think one, you're looked at as a number. You're looked at as a number, and whether it's in school or through the state, just because there's so many people, you're just always a number on a list. And if
Mm,
you can, and I think what my goal is to normalize people with disabilities in the workforce. And I think that's
mm,
the biggest thing we got to work on as a society. And luckily, the high school I came from was great. The kids, they were so good with the kids with disabilities there,
mhm,
supportive, and invited them to a lot of stuff. There's a lot of resources there. And so I think just we can go and do a lot more as a society to kind of welcome, and it's not just a niche spot for someone with a disability, in a store or somewhere that's just set for them. It's, they can do anything they want,
mm,
if they want to do it. It's truly finding out what they can do and what their passion is. And I think that's how you're seen, is not by just being a number, on someone's caseload. It's finding someone who cares for you, and that will go the extra mile, will put in the extra time, and find that spot for you, that truly, because a lot of us find our identity sometimes in our careers. Not
mhm.
all of it, but
Right.
a lot of it. I do. I'm sure you do. And so I think a lot of these kids, that's where they need to be right now, is finding that spot. So that's what we're here to do.
Yeah. Yeah, so it kind of makes me think of that's a way that you guys are kinda helping people have a sense of autonomy in a way, like, you're helping them feel like they're directing their own lives versus being placed in a predefined path or
Mhm.
system, and so a lot of that sounds like it is really people-centered. It's discovering what it is about this person, who they are as a person, so that you can properly connect them with that next stage of life. Is that am I picking up on that correctly?
Yeah, I think you're correct. And I think my biggest joy is like seeing the kind of the pride in parents. I'm moving into a spot now where I'm dealing with adults, but before it was I'd take videos of their kids working out in the community and send it to
Mhm.
them. And,
Yeah.
that was, huge. They would keep that and show it. I know they always tell me they show it to their family members, like at holidays or just wherever, that's something they can brag about.
Mhm. Yeah, that's cool. And I guess in traditional settings of a business where you got KPIs and you got certain metrics, which I'm sure you got some of that, embedded in your systems and processes somewhere there, but
Hmm.
this is different. So for you, Arsene, like, what would you say? What does success look like for you guys, which isn't something that you can easily measure on paper?
Um, to me, it's I don't know if you've seen that movie Hacksaw Ridge. Um,
No, it sounds familiar, but I don't think so.
so he's a medic, and he's I can't remember the term, but he doesn't want to carry a gun in the war, and so it's one more person. He has to go save one more person, and so he's climbing up these hills and up these cliffs and dropping people down the cliffs and saving them all. And it's just one more person. I think that's what success is. I mean,
Mhm.
it's not really a dollar sign to me.
Mhm.
It's that one more person, because you could set your goals and you can meet them in a month, and then what happens after that?
Right.
Like you still. So to me, it's just that it never ends. It's just that one more person that you can help
Yeah.
change their lives. So that's success for me.
Yeah. That's awesome. I'm sure you got, I mean, in all the years you've been doing this, because you're kind of a veteran in the game, I would say. You've been doing this for a while. Um, can you share a moment that, where you had somebody that really exceeded expectations, whether that was your own expectations or the expectations of what others around you were, perceiving, and how that happened?
Yeah, I think for me, it's so I kind of tell the dynamics of how the in high school it worked. So after they get through their ninth through 12th grades, they come into my class, and so there's work-based learning classes, and so that would be everybody, no matter the disability. And there was a couple kids that they had very violent behaviors, and to where it was, when they were supposed to be out in the community, it was three people to that one student. And I think the biggest one was getting him to work and find out what he liked. And he was very sensory based, and so what he liked was the humming of a vacuum. We came to find out
Mhm.
he didn't. We tried all these different things, and then the previous 4 years he didn't really do much. He was sitting at a desk, and he would scream all day, have self-injurious behaviors. And now he loved van rides. So we had a van. So we'd
Mhm.
take him to job sites, and he would be out multiple hours in the day working. So he went from, having self-injurious behaviors, screaming all day at school, really not leaving, his desk, to being out and riding in the van with the rest of his peers. His violent behaviors went way down. His overall behaviors went way down too, especially when we were out in the community. And his overall just kind of success in school kind of flourished as well,
Mhm.
as academics, and then also getting out in the community, and getting the he graduated, and then seeing, like, the parents afterwards. I saw him at the grocery store, and they tell me, they wish that their kid had 2 more years or another year with me, and
Mhm.
just because of the success he had.
Yeah.
And they hadn't found a place yet for him, and that kind of modeled that same routine and structure. And so
Mhm.
I think hearing that, and it's been several parents are very, very grateful. When you get, like I said, once you get past the academics and you get them out into the real community and around other people, and just I've had a parent who they couldn't take their child to the grocery store because they were a runner, or they would smack stuff off the shelf. And
Mhm.
then it got to a point where we were able to take him, and he would just push the shopping cart for me, and we just go down the aisles, and he would help us shop and scan stuff at the end of the day to check it out and pay for it. And
Mhm.
so I think a lot of that stuff is what you do it for. That's I think true success.
Yeah. Going back to what I was talking about earlier, because literally it was a book I just cracked open late last night. but it reminds me of one of the stories that Tebow's sharing with this young kid who was born with like clubbed feet, and in the environment that he was in the culture, he was ostracized, and it was unfortunate enough that the child ended up, you know, passing away because he wasn't able to get medical attention in time when something happened. And so he ended up getting a portrait of this person that he has in his like TV room that he's gotten. So every time he's in there, it reminds him of his purpose. It reminds him of why he continues to do what he does. I don't know if this story is
Yeah.
maybe that to you, and if not, is there somebody in particular that stands out that kind of reminds you why you stepped into this role and continue it?
Yeah. I actually, confidentially stuff. I can't, but I have her picture right here.
Mm,
So she's on my website. So, yeah, she has leukodystrophy. So what that is the gray and white matter in your brain kind of
mhm,
dissipates, goes away. And so she's lost like, her muscle function, speech, just kind of, every, function that you would need to throughout the day is really gone downhill. And she wasn't supposed to make it past, I think, her eighth birthday. And now she's 22.
mm.
So we still
Wow.
hang out. We just went shopping last week. So
Wow.
we
Yeah.
we try to hang out like every other month. We go shopping or we go bowling or just stuff that she can do. She can push it down the little roller, to go
Mm,
bowling and go out to eat, just stuff like that. But and she's the happiest person on earth
wow.
because it didn't really hit till I think she was 4 years old, and she was a typical functioning little girl, and then it just hit, and yeah, so she wasn't, so I think, supposed to make it past her 12th birthday, and now she's 22.
Wow.
Yeah.
I don't think it is coincidence at all. I'm 99.9% sure that the kid he's talking about in the book
Hmm.
had the same condition as what you just mentioned. And he
Really.
talked about, yep. And he talked about carrying the person on his back because they had lost all their muscles, and they barely had any strength to grip.
Hmm.
But what you just described was that kid he's describing, and the biggest smile on the planet that he would
Yeah.
just draw joy from witnessing. So you got to totally check it out. That's so
Yeah.
cool.
Well, it
Wow.
makes you feel pretty soft when you're complaining if you didn't get your 8 hours of sleep or you had to work late or something. Just simple things that you're complaining about in life. And yeah, you go. It was just, I would take her if I was having a stressful day, and we just go for a walk in the high school, and she'd cheer me up. So
Wow. And unpacking this right now too. I mean, I can only imagine it carries a sense of emotional weight too, being in this field. How do you protect yourself and others with compassion without burning out when you're pouring yourself into this heart and soul?
um, I think a lot of it is my wife, because she's in the same field, and she has that background. So she also analyzes me, but she's very smart. So she kind of keeps me based. And if I'm working too much, especially now with getting this business going, she'll, it's time for you to take a break, and she'll center me. And um, but it is, there's a huge burnout, especially in the special education field
Mhm.
for teachers. There's a huge turnover rate with not only teachers but with paraeducators too, which would be equivalent kind of the direct support personnel's. So it's a high turnover rate, but I think if you have that passion and you have a good base at home, because you're gonna lose some sleep, you're gonna be stressed, you're gonna, but if you can find that happiness and that's your goals and you're hitting them of what you see and what you need to do, I think that's it really outweighs the stress. Is, once you, like I said, you see that person who's stuck in the classroom for 4 years and now he's out working in the community, and you get the appreciation from the parents, and people recognize kind of what you do. It's great. That feeling's greater than in like the sports, I played and stuff like that. Like, this is truly a calling. So
Yeah. Yeah, that's the differentiator there. You feel a purpose in what you're
yeah.
doing here. It's a calling. And you've been in a leadership capacity in your professional field already, but this is kind of new season or new stage, you know, that you're taking on as far as being in a leadership role is concerned. Um, what would you say that you're learning from a leadership perspective that you didn't pick up in textbook or training of some sort in your former arena?
Man.
Loaded question, huh?
Yeah, there's been a lot. I think I was just telling my wife about this because I saw it was like a YouTube short or something like that. And it was some CEO, and he was talking about how everybody wants the title of, CEO or founder,
Hmm.
and, the pay or whatever it is, but they don't see that time and effort and the sleepless nights and all
Hmm.
that stuff that goes into it. And I think, um, knowing that kind of the buck stops with you, and because before it's, I've always been like a W-2 employee, and there's someone I worked for and I had a boss, and now it's, you got to be the example
Hmm.
of everything. And it was like that before, but now it's kind of, there's really no one that's above me, that, like I said, the buck kind of stops with me being the director of the company. So
Yeah.
I think just letting the passion show of has been the biggest thing. Of, once people see that you have that passion and where your heart is,
Hmm.
no matter what you're, 'cause believe me, I'm not great at a lot of things so far in this stuff, but I'm learning, and trying to do my best. And like I said, there are a lot of sleepless nights worrying about things to do, but at the end of the day, I think people see your passion, and I think that goes a long way.
Absolutely. Yeah, I can see your passion as well, just in the short conversation we're having here. So it's inspiring to myself as well. You know, years from now, when you're kind of looking back at what was started and what you poured your heart into, what you lost sleep over, you know, what are you hoping that people will say about what you changed, not just for individuals, but even for communities that show up for one another?
Yeah, I think the lasting impact of how we're going to run our business, I think, will be the biggest thing. And seeing that, you know, no one's going to be left behind. There's, everyone's going to get the same care, and um, it's like I said before, it's not like a dollar sign. It's one more person that we can help, and you know, the quality of care and of passing that along, and kind of setting the standard. I'm hoping to, in the field around here around Spokane. I know there's, a lot of companies that do it right, and it's just I feel like I have the passion, and I've been, in the last decade in this field. So I think we, as a company and the people I'm hiring, have a lot to offer
Yeah.
the community. So I'm excited.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, Jared, this has been a pleasure getting to know you more and hear about your mission, hear about your passion, and the way that you're impacting not just your community, but the ripple effect that that's going to have across the world as well. And so we'll definitely include information to your site and contact info in the show notes to this here for anybody that's listening. I'm sure that you're as inspired as myself in hearing Jared and what they are after at URC. And so, Jared, again, I appreciate your time a ton.
Thanks for having me.
You got it.